No DQ Galaxy, we are live with a recap of Monday Night Raw for November 11th, 2024. Shout out to everybody watching this, whether it's live or on demand. I very much appreciate your viewership and support. Survivor Series is coming up in just a few weeks. We have an update on War Games. Stay tuned for that. We kicked off Raw in Grand Rapids, Michigan with the World Heavyweight Champion Gunther. It was confirmed Survivor Series World Title match will be Gunther versus Damian Priest. Damian Priest did win the number one contenders match last week, but I'm a little surprised because there was talk of CM Punk potentially being Gunther's opponent at Survivor Series. What's going on? Is WWE saving CM Punk until Royal Rumble? Time will tell. Gunther talked about how all that matters is that he's still the World Heavyweight Championship. He's still the World Heavyweight Champion. Damian Priest quickly interrupted. Priest brought up SummerSlam, how Priest would have been champion if it wasn't for Finn Balor turning against him. Priest said at first his confidence wasn't great, but then things changed. He talked about how Gunther's vibe has been fading and brought up how Gunther lost to Cody Rhodes at the Royal Rumble. Said Gunther is full of doubt, and he dared Gunther to take his shot, but Gunther did not take his shot. Instead, we had Ludwig Kaiser come to the ring. Kaiser said the result at Survivor Series will be the same as SummerSlam. He said Priest is not worthy. Gunther did not appreciate Kaiser getting involved in this segment. Kaiser kept running his mouth, and Damian Priest ended up dropping Kaiser, clotheslined him out of the ring, and then we had a little bit of a face-off between Priest and Gunther, but Gunther ended up leaving the ring. It was a standard opening segment. WWE's trying to sell this idea that Gunther is having doubt for the first time in his career. He's a little bit scared of Damian Priest. Now, of course, I'm like, this is a filler match. No chance in hell Gunther's losing at Survivor Series. He just lost to Cody. If anything, he's going to get a big win at Survivor Series to build him back up after he took that loss. But WWE's doing what they can to try and make you think that Gunther is perhaps on the edge of losing it all. We had our first match of the evening. We had Damage Control versus Pure Fusion Collective in a 6-woman tag team match. Damage Control, including the returning Dakota Kai, who was injured legitimately over the summer. WWE came up with a storyline where the PCB or the PFB, whatever the hell they are, Pure Fusion Collective, that's PFC. They took out Dakota Kai in the storyline, but she's back now. She was gone for about 3 months. It was a standard tag team match. You had a little pre-match promo beforehand. Pure Fusion Collective had the early advantage. Then Kairi Sane tagged in. Shayna Baszler took a cheap shot while the referee wasn't looking. Then Dakota Kai got the hot tag. Things started to break down with all of them in the match. And then Io Sky, who is the number one contender for the Raw Women's Championship, she got the pin, came off the top with the moonsault, beating Shayna Baszler to win the match for her team. Happy for Dakota Kai that she's back. Hopefully she stays healthy and she can have a good run now with Damage Control. We also had a backstage segment with Kofi Kingston approaching R-Truth thanking R-Truth for helping out last week when they were in trouble. Xavier Woods then popped up, and then Pete Dunne showed up. He was pissed because last week R-Truth called him Butch. Kofi Kingston stepped in and issued a challenge to Pete Dunne for a match on Raw, and Xavier just walked off in disgust. More on that in a few moments. We had a recap from SmackDown with the Bloodline, the new Bloodline, and the old Bloodline setting up Survivor Series. We then had Sami Zayn backstage at Raw with the Usos. These guys can just go brand to brand at this point. Now, they revealed that they need a fifth member for War Games. It is officially 5-on-5. Not sure what this means, if we are going to get non-Bloodline members involved in the Bloodline storyline, but it is, in fact, 5-on-5 War Games, as it usually is, but part of me was thinking they were just going to stick to the Bloodline members, with Sami Zayn obviously being the honorary Uce. Now, Sami Zayn said he knows somebody that could possibly step in and be the fifth member for Roman Reigns' Bloodline team. We had Kofi Kingston versus Pete Dunne. Kofi Kingston took flight early on in the match, but then after the break, Dunne was able to catch Kofi coming off the top of the forearm, but then Kofi quickly recovered, hit the Trouble in Paradise, the tip. He sent Dunne to the outside of the ring. Kofi got most of the offense in this match, which is typically a sign that whoever is getting in the majority of the offense ends up losing, especially if it's a babyface. With Dunne outside of the ring, Xavier Woods, who was at ringside, took a cheap shot at Pete Dunne while the referee's back was turned. Then Kofi Kingston got mad about this. He confronted Xavier. He was distracted. Then Pete Dunne was able to recover. He hit the bitter end and got the 1-2-3 victory. The dissension with the New Day continues. We do have the anniversary of the New Day coming up at the end of the month. I'm guessing that'll be the December 2nd Raw when they celebrate it. So whatever's going to happen will seemingly happen on that show, and we continue to get the build for that. Is Big E coming back? Is Xavier actually going full-blown heel? Time will tell. Match was solid. It was pretty basic, but more about setting up the New Day potentially breaking up storyline. And they continued to argue after the match. Xavier walked off. Things were heated with them. We then had Judgment Day backstage, and they were having issues too. They were arguing. Balor and Dominic Mysterio, they were upset with each other. And then Finn Balor proposed Dominic Mysterio and Carlito try to take out the War Raiders on next week's Monday Night Raw, which, by the way, Monday Night Raw, a taped show. You could check out the spoilers over on NoDQ.com for next week. Bronson Reed, big Bronson Reed, I should say, came to the ring for a promo. He put over Rollins for winning a crown jewel, but he plans on putting Rollins down for good. Now, Rollins came out there. They fought. It was every pull-apart brawl you've ever seen. Not nearly as cool, though, as the Braun Strowman and Bronson Reed brawls, I must say. But they fought. The officials came out there, pulled them apart. They broke through, as they always do. Crowd chants, let them fight. It was overdone in the Vince McMahon era, and I think it's overdone in the Triple H era. AEW overdoes it. Pull-apart brawls, to me, are like the weakest, least creative ways to build up a storyline. And sometimes it works really well. Like, I think with Bronson Reed and Braun Strowman, that made sense. You got these two monsters and nobody can contain them. It made sense in that case, but here, I think it's a little bit lazy creatively. So anyways, backstage, Adam Pearce was furious. He's yelling. You know, we've seen this story before, and they're going to have their blow-off match next week. It was officially set up for next week. Then Sami Zayn showed up to have a word with Seth Rollins. Sami Zayn pitched the idea of Seth Rollins being the fifth man for War Games. He has experience with Roman Reigns and felt that Rollins would be the right guy for the job. Rollins thought Sami Zayn was completely out of his mind. Rollins said he was shocked that Sami Zayn would even stand next to Roman Reigns after everything that happened. Rollins brought up how he will never team up with Roman Reigns again. And he appreciated Sami Zayn, but the answer was no. Seth Rollins turns down Sami Zayn to be the fifth man. And I totally understand Rollins. Why would he want to get involved in this? Why would he want to be in, one of these career-altering matches to help Roman Reigns? Just wouldn't make any sense. They made it work with Sami Zayn because he was actually part of the Bloodline. But of course, Seth Rollins still has trauma from that steel chair shot that broke up the Shield. This was a good segment to tease the fifth member, and there was more. So we'll talk about that in a few moments here. Damian Priest versus Ludwig Kaiser. It was exactly what you would expect. It was a showcase match for Damian Priest. No way he's losing to Kaiser en route to a world title match. Match was all right. Kaiser got in a little bit of offense, but you want to keep your challenger strong. And Priest wiped him out with a lariat and then pinned him with the South of Heaven chokeslam. We had some footage shown of Braun Breaker and Sheamus fighting on WWE Speed for some reason. They had a draw. Braun Breaker was interviewed backstage. He called Sheamus a boneheaded idiot. So Sheamus confronted him and challenged him to an IC title match for next week's Raw, which was taped tonight. Again, spoilers over on NoDQ.com. Then we had Jimmy Uso approaching Braun Breaker, but it appeared that nothing came out of that. I don't even think we got a follow-up for this one. So maybe there is more to it. We'll see. I don't think it's going to be Braun Breaker, though. Karrion Kross found The Miz backstage. The Miz survived his attack from the Wyatt Sicks. However, Miz told Kross he's going to Adam Pearce for a leave of absence. And Kross told Miz he's not done. He's not going anywhere. But Miz said he has to think of his family. He promised he would change his ways. And Wyatt Sicks let him go. But Kross was not having it. They grabbed Miz. AOP took the Miz to the ring. Blood was coming down the Miz's eyes. Or one of his eyes, I should say. And then the lights went out. Wyatt Sicks appeared, but it was a setup. Miz took a steel chair, hit Eric Rowan with the chair, and a brawl erupted. But with the Miz's help, the Final Testament was able to lay out the Wyatt Sicks, and they really made a big deal out of this on commentary. First time that the Wyatt Sicks have been taken out on WWE programming, courtesy of the Final Testament and the Miz with a steel chair. But even though Miz and Kross hugged each other, you had Uncle Howdy just laughing hysterically. This feud is definitely not over by a long shot. It was an entertaining segment. I mean, Wyatt Sicks got outsmarted. Why would you trust that The Miz is on the up and up, but whatever. Then backstage, Seth Rollins was approached again, this time by Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu. Rollins said that the next time he's in the ring with Roman Reigns, he is going to stomp Roman Reigns' head into the ground. But having said that, Rollins added that he will never join forces with a wannabe Roman Reigns and turned them down and took his leave. Seth Rollins is out. Obviously, he's got his match coming up with Bronson Reed next week, and that should be the end of that. But there were teases. I think there was a segment where Rey Mysterio was seen in the background with Jey Uso. They're going to keep teasing it. So what's next? Raw's taped. I don't know if they're going to have teasers that they film backstage. Maybe most of what happens is on SmackDown. Building Nexus sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you, Building Nexus. I appreciate it. Says, do you think Solo Sikoa brings in Hikuleo and RIP Candyman? RIP Candyman, I agree with that. Classic character. As far as who Solo brings in, I mean, that's a possibility. Could we get even more Samoans in the mix to make it full Bloodline? Yeah, that's a possibility. But with all this TV time to hype up the fifth members, I feel like it's got to be bigger than that. Like, I think fans will be disappointed if it's two unknowns to them coming in. I'd like it to be The Rock. My feeling is that it will be Cody and Kevin Owens. We'll see. We'll talk about this more on the No DQ review. So thank you for that, Building Nexus. Stay tuned. No DQ review. I'm sure we'll be talking about the possibilities, who's going to join the Bloodline teams at Survivor Series. Main event, women's tag team title match. Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair defending against Liv Morgan and Raquel. Now, Jade was going after Raquel on the outside of the ring. You had Bianca almost hitting her partner, Jade, by mistake. That allowed the challengers to take advantage. And then after the commercial break, Jade and Bianca started to make a comeback. Then we had Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton interfering in the match. Bianca almost got pinned, but Jade Cargill made the save. Then Naomi came out there. So this is wrestling logic, but how does Naomi, a SmackDown wrestler, know Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton are going to interfere? So she gets booked on a plane flight or whatever to Monday Night Raw to counteract the interference. She must have had a crystal ball to know what's coming. It's kind of goofy. And again, people are just going on whatever show at this point. Like, the brand split doesn't even really matter right now. This is typically how it goes as we get into WrestleMania season. Really, they only take it seriously for about 6 months of the year. And then the next 6 months, Survivor Series to WrestleMania, they just don't care. Then they have the draft, and then they take it seriously for another 6 months, if that. It is what it is. So yeah, Naomi's out there, and then the champs are able to regain their momentum. Bianca hits the KOD, pins the champion, Liv Morgan. So I don't know if that means Bianca Belair's getting a title match now against Monday Night Raw's Liv Morgan, but I guess they didn't want Raquel to take the fall here. And it's just weird to me that you have the champion take the fall against somebody she's probably not facing in the immediate future. Match was fine. Io Sky actually made the save at the end because Nia Jax had come out there for the post-match attack. Io helped out the champions. They all cleared the ring. Jade and Bianca took out Nia with a double suplex. And you had Io, Naomi, and the tag team champions celebrating together. You know what? Matthew brings this up. They probably had this done to set up the women's War Games match, which I think they should just do a traditional Survivor Series match. Like this feels very thrown together. But yeah, I could see them using this scenario to set up War Games. You know, that's also the problem with having a mandatory War Games match. Like it just feels forced. We have a pay-per-view called War Games, so we got to set up a War Games match. Like that was the same problem with the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view and even Elimination Chamber. It's like, it'd be better if you had like just an organic build-up to the match. The Hell in a Cell with CM Punk and Drew McIntyre worked so well because the pay-per-view wasn't called Hell in a Cell. They could just organically set up the match when the feud called for it. Here it's just like, oh, we got a War Games match. We have to have a women's War Games match. So Naomi's going to randomly show up on Monday Night Raw. I just don't really want to see it, but, you know, they got to do it. It's just how it is in WWE. Overall, I thought Raw was decent, but I just haven't been feeling these 2-hour Raws, which is crazy because I complained about the 3-hour Raws for the longest time. And like I've said in previous weeks, it really does feel like right now they're just playing it safe with the booking, doing what has worked in the past, sticking to a formula, and we're not really going to see things pick up until Royal Rumble season. You know, it's going to be the lame duck period here. Survivor Series will be huge with the Bloodline match, but beyond that, you know, you got Saturday night's main event, and then you're going to be waiting for a bit. And the Rumble is not until the start of February too. So yeah, once we get on Netflix, we get into January, I think things will start to pick up. The matches on the show were okay. Nothing really stood out much to me. Best thing was the Bloodline storyline. Same thing as SmackDown. I give the show a B-. It was solid, but definitely not spectacular. You know, a lot of stuff I think could have been skippable. You could have missed this Raw and not really miss a whole lot. Anyways, guys, thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the recap. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up on YouTube and spread the word. Tell a friend about the NoDQ.com YouTube channel. You can check out Raw spoilers for next week over on NoDQ.com. And stay tuned for Survivor Series news. Follow NoDQ on all the social media outlets. And we're also on Blue Sky now. Check out NoDQ over on Blue Sky. Take care, everybody. Say yes to NoDQ.com. And I will see you all next time.